Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. So, I'm recording this video today with the incredible Kelly Hogan. She's a 13 plus year carnivore with another 5 years of zero carb experience above and beyond that. Now, Kelly has a huge history on the online community. She has an Instagram account and she's been a member of Zeroing In on Health since it was a YouTube, or no, since it was a website before it became a Facebook group. So, yeah, Kelly, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Hey, Bruno, I'm so glad to be back with you.
It's so nice to have you here.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that about sums it up. I used to be kind of a mess when it comes to just my own health and how I felt. And my 20s were a wreck. Then I cut out carbs, added all of the meat, met some online friends who are also carnivores. And, here we are almost 2 decades later.
It's
And
amazing.
yeah, it's amazing. And I'm in my 40s and feeling really, really good now.
Right. So, uh, what brought you to carnivore? I know you mentioned this once in my video I had you in on my 100th episode, but what brought you to the zeroing in on health to begin with?
Well, I first started carb elimination because of my doctor. I was having horrible symptoms, not just obesity, but there was that too. Inflammation, boils, horrible chest pain. It's called costochondritis, which is inflammation of the cartilage of the sternum. So I was having all these problems, and my doctor said, you're inflamed and it's the carbohydrates. So he had to really educate me that day. And for the next 5 years, I was just on my own following that advice. Like I just went with that conversation. Okay, it's the carbs, cut out the carbs. What can you eat? You can eat meat. Okay, let's do that. And yeah, it worked. Most days, the only carbs I would have were pickles, green beans, diet soda, which obviously doesn't have carbs, but it wasn't meat. And the rest was animal products. So I did that for 5 years, but it was lonely. I was nervous because I thought, I'm feeling better, but you can't live this way, right? Who could live this way? This can't be healthy. Everybody in my life just kept saying, honey, we're glad you're losing weight, but we're just worried because it's just, it's a lot of meat and you're not really eating hardly any vegetables. And I'm thinking, nobody was this worried when I was actually sick. I was
Weird, isn't
looking,
it?
it is weird. I was looking so much better and feeling better. Everything wasn't 100% because I didn't know a few key things, such as fat is very important. So there were times when I was just eating really lean because I had been taught, if you want better results, you just got to cut out fat, cut out fat. And so during that 5 years, there were times when I would really cut back on fat and I thought, I don't feel that good. Maybe it's the lack of vegetables. So you can see how in my head, not having any support, no knowledge, there wasn't, there weren't these incredible carnivore books and YouTube channels. When I felt bad, I wondered if it was the lack of vegetables, when it was, in fact, I just was eating very lean meat. So then in 2009, I just did a Google search. Is it safe to eat only meat? And that's when I found out, oh my gosh, there are people. There's a website, and there were just all of these beautiful journals. Charles Washington headed that up. Dana Spencer was a big leader there at the time. And Dr. Lisa Wiedemann was already there. Amber O'Hearn, names who are, still out there. Charles Washington is awesome.
And he really mentored you, because I remember you saying that you weren't really able to hold on much longer, keeping your sugar cravings alive for the first 5 years you were doing this virtually zero carb way of eating. And they explained to you that you needed to have fat in your diet and you wanted to ideally have any sweet taste out of your diet. So you found a tribe, and Charles really took you under his wing, if I recall, did he not?
Yes. And we butted heads a little bit. For one thing, I didn't want to cut out diet soda. I'd never heard of the idea of it's the sweet taste that's triggering the cravings. I just at that point assumed I've been a sugar addict my whole life. What's different about this?
Yeah.
And so when they said, "Oh, if you cut out the last of the sweet tastes, you'll experience the freedom." And I was a little agitated by that at first. Like, come on, it's Diet Coke. Diet Dr. Pepper was really my thing.
Right. Yeah.
And so yes, he really talked me through it. And then there was a time period where I was gaining weight because I went from not eating a lot of meat and not eating much fat to then all of the meat and fat. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm so hungry. I'm just gonna do it. And I started gaining some weight. It was
And
slow,
that
but
made you anxious as well, if I recall. You mentioned that before.
oh, not just a little anxious. Like, come on, this is not how it's supposed to work. Y'all said this would get me healthier. And they're like,
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
healthier. Maybe
That's
not
right.
skinnier at first, but
Yes.
healthier. And they said, what is your long-term goal? And I wanted a baby so badly at that point.
Yeah.
And they said, well, you have to want a baby more than you want to be skinny right now.
Well put. Well put. And it's interesting because you're going through the same experience now because you're passing the service along. You're helping people because you found your tribe and they helped you through your health problems by introducing you to a carnivore way of eating. And it took it was one of those it took a village situations, right? Like they were all helping you. Everyone was involved in that. That wasn't just a one-on-one you had with Charles. That was you participating in this website. So now that it's expanded and expanded quite a bit. I mean, we're talking a few hundred people up to tens of thousands of people now doing this, maybe in the hundreds of thousands of people doing carnivore,
Yeah.
um, maybe more, right? So
I don't know. There are some Facebook groups like World Carnivore Tribe. I don't even know what they're up to now. I'm sure we could find out real quickly, but
yeah,
it's definitely tens of thousands.
you're you're helping people the way you were helped before, and uh you know what it's like to have those struggles and just the weight gain for people when they start introducing higher fats into their diet like you went through. uh Ladies and gentlemen, you're in good company because if you're feeling anxious from going to a higher fat diet and you put on 25 or 15 or 30 pounds, Kelly Hogan went through the exact same anxiety you did. And here she is. She's on the other side of it. And sometimes that's part of the process of healing your body. And too many people are obsessed with the scale and looking good than feeling good. And you went through that yourself. So when you get anxious about it, I find that interesting because you're actually speaking to it from a voice of experience, not just someone I mean, you're not just a carnivore who's been doing this a long time and offering coaching because you've gone through this exact thing yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's what I value when I listen to somebody. There's some super fit, awesome looking, I mean, ripped abs carnivores, and I love learning from them. I think we can all learn from each other no matter what our past is.
Right.
Whether you've ever lived in a dilapidated house or not, you might be great at helping other people fix their houses, right? It
Right.
doesn't necessarily have to be your own experience. But when I see somebody who is looking great, feeling good, and they can say, yeah, but this is where I came from, you're like, oh
Yes.
my gosh. Yes, suddenly that holds so much more weight with me. Like that literally that it just resonates more because where they had to come from.
I've said in my videos before, it's great to find a coach that you can connect with.
Mhm.
For example, if I was coming from a vegan background, there might be other coaches that I might resonate with a little better. It's a personal choice, but I resonated with you. Your health history and the way you relate to food and your experiences with food and sugar addiction and volume addiction and carbohydrate addiction, that was my backstory. So this is something that is, I think, though you're able to help so many people because you've been also moderator in the Zeroing In on Health Facebook group. You have a large history with that. So you've dealt with a lot of different people struggling with carnivore, as well as the people trying to lose weight and get their health back in order. I just find that really great because you can focus on one particular area and you're also well-rounded enough because of your experience to help people deal with conditions that you've never even had yourself because you've dealt with it before with lots of different other people.
Thanks, Bruno. I appreciate that very much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
What would you say encouraged you to start doing these coaching groups that you offer now?
My husband. So I was teaching. I was a teacher, public school for 20 years. And every free moment I had, especially if, the kids were in bed, any free time I had, he saw what I was doing. I was just answering questions, trying to search for resources. If somebody said, "Do you know of a study about," I was like, "Hold on." And I loved that. Just trying to find the information and bring it to people. In my heart, it's not that I was ever, I think, really a music teacher. I think I'm just a teacher.
Yes.
So I was intrigued by music and I did that for a long time. But I really just love like getting excited. This is my thing. I want to get excited about any piece of information and then try to convey that to somebody else, like at the heart of it. And my love and passion for the music subject was fading. And he saw that and he's like, "This is what you want to teach." I said, "Yeah, but there's not a classroom for carnivore." Well, then COVID, you could have a classroom for anything. It was just online. Prior to that, it felt like a silly dream. You're going to have a class about carnivore? Where are we going to like rent out a room?
Right. Almost forced, right?
Yeah. And I had never heard of Zoom calls in online classes until we all sort of went home from work for a while. And then everybody was online. So I thought I could actually help teach a class about what I'm passionate about now. So I was doing both for a long time. I would teach music all day and in the evenings do the classes on meat and health and all things carnivore. And that was fun and exhausting to do both. And then at some point, my husband said, "This is clearly what you love.
Oh, yeah.
Just do that." So here we are.
And it shows. And your pricing at this time in 2023 and approaching the spring of 2023 is still extremely modest, right? It's $50 a month and it's a one Zoom meeting a week.
Yes.
And participation in a closed Facebook group. Could you expand on any of that, please?
Yeah, so it's the same price it started out at almost 2 years ago. So I really do want to make it affordable for anybody that wants to. It's the same price that it's been since I started almost 2 years ago and hope to always keep it there. So we do meet for an hour to an hour and 10 minutes because I'm a little long-winded every week. And then in between sessions, if people want to email me their questions, I do a lot of responding behind the scenes, or we can talk about those during the chat or Facebook groups. So the way each meeting goes is I usually start off each meeting with something for our new folks, because I get some brand new carnivores who are like, "Oh gosh, what are some easy recipes?" or how can I just stop eating sugar? Sometimes that is the only thing people need help with, is just breaking addiction. So I'll normally start off with something for those guys. And then I have some topics every week. So yesterday, for example, I delved into some tools in the toolbox for our more like advanced placement carnivores, if they've
Yeah.
never tried. One of those being lymphatic massage. And we did a group self-lymphatic massage together for those that wanted to. We did some box breathing together. And there are people who have their camera on and want to talk every single meeting. There are people who haven't turned on their camera yet because they would rather just sit back and listen. And wherever they are, that is really okay. But every week I show up with my lessons, and I used to put them in this little yellow folder, which is no longer a little yellow folder. These are all of my typed lessons. It's getting a little out of hand over here. I do have them saved digitally, and at some point should probably like alphabetize them somehow. But anyhow, every week I have topics to cover, and then there are some groups that have more of a Q&A in mind. They just want to ask questions. So if I don't get to it all, then that's fine too.
Having been in your coaching groups now for over a year and a half, I'm impressed with the amount of returning carnivores who have, like myself, who it's non-negotiable. Like, this is part of the process, and people feel like they found their tribe and a coach they resonate with. And what do you say to anyone who's maybe new to the coaching experience, what they can expect versus the long-term carnivores who, they're going to keep showing up because it works?